Let's have a little fun today. I'm starting a new series where I gamble all of the money that I've earned on YouTube and try and buy a fun car on Cars and Bids. Let's see what's for sale right now and what I could possibly bid on and try and win with my YouTube earnings. Oh my goodness, a Lamborghini Murcielago. I only care if it's a manual. Oh, this McLaren P1 is almost getting ready to sell. Let's just say I can't quite afford a $1.37 million bid right now. But my gosh, look at that color combo. I don't feel like these are worth buying right now because I've heard too many problems about their battery packs going bad. So I'm not doing that, but man, somebody's gonna get a beautiful car. All right, if we've got a wish list of factors that we can look for in the future car, need a manual, need 4 seats, obviously you have to afford it, and we need it to be reasonable to maintain and repair, need it to be fun. I think the reasonable to maintain and repair thing probably means it's less than 20 years old, hopefully less than 10 years old, but that's like a 2014 car, so that feels like brand new basically to me. Mazda Speed 3 Grand Touring, that's getting closer to what we can afford. The high bid is currently $7,000, so we need to bid $7,100, but these things pull like a freight train at freeway speeds. They are no joke. This one looks fairly clean. Wow, how is that seat in such good condition? That looks amazing. Little aftermarket shift knob with a zip tie. I'm skeptical of that, but okay. 117,000 miles. Nice photography. I appreciate that. He's got a little aftermarket gauge set up there. That's cute. I also feel like these were early direct injection cars and kind of had a bad rap for like blowing up at random times. So maybe not this one. Ooh, we're getting closer to what I can afford. A $5,000 bid might win this one, even though there's almost 2 hours left in the auction. Who doesn't need a Daihatsu dump truck? Look at that little high jet. 2 people could be riding in there, plus put the kids in the back. Whenever it's time to get them at school, dump them. We've arrived at school. Now is your departure time. Bye. Okay, I would never do that. Man, that thing is so cute. Oh, look at that. The little side rails fold down. What a cute little work truck. I'll bet the thing only does like 55 miles an hour though. Typically these little K trucks had to meet engine size requirements to be allowed to be like in urban cities in Japan. And so it's probably got like a 650cc engine or something. So it's going to be super slow, but man, they're so cool. I'm so glad we get to start importing these kinds of things. Look at this, the little finger pointer. This is like best motoring vibes from back in the day when the guys would talk there and have a little finger pointer on a stick and go over the specs of their car. He's pointing out a rip in the seat, pointing out another seat issue. I need to get one of those little finger pointers. I wonder if they sell those on Amazon. Finger pointer stick. That's what we need. Oh, wow. There's different colored ones. No, I don't want a ball on a stick. I want a finger pointer. And I want a long stick. Oh, here we go. Yes. Telescoping teacher's pointer. This is what we need. Look, that's how I'll look. Add to cart. The problem with this dump truck is that it will not be fun to drive. Not in a sporty way, anyway. So we need to find something that's a lot more fun to drive. And ideally, the perfect car would actually be able to fit 4 people because I do have 2 kids. So like the wagon situation, very appealing. The manual transmission, very appealing. I could also be tempted by a GT500 though. And this is because like in our family, my great uncle, my Uncle Waldo, bought an original GT500 back in the day. He wasn't the first owner. Some other guy had bought it from Ford. He'd put a shorter rear end in it. And so the thing had like super close ratio transmission. It would barely even do, I think 100 in like 4th or something because the guy was like a stoplight drag racer. But back when my dad and uncle were little, they got to sit in the back seat, watch my uncle do this crazy smoky burnout. And they just sat there in the back seat of this Mustang and watched the smoke rolling through the windows. Then he took off, went 100, slammed on the brakes, and then he was like, there you go. That's what it means to do 100 miles an hour. And they've just been like enamored with that memory ever since. So for me to like continue that GT500 tradition and keep a car in the family, that is technically a GT500, even though it's quite a different car nowadays than it was in the 60s. Like that would just be super fun. This is such a nice clean example. White, blue. Does this have a window sticker on there? Who's driving this thing with a window sticker? 7,900 miles and he left the buyer's guide on the passenger side window? That's weird. I'm taking that off if I buy this car. Oh yeah, the interiors of these like 07, 08 cars, they made a lot of improvements after this one, but this would still be fun. I mean, 500 horsepower, supercharged V8, manual, what's not to love? Technically, it has back seats. I could put the kids back there. It's a 4-seater. 4-seater is really the rule, not 4 doors. That's our qualification here. And I want a manual. So if it doesn't have a manual, I'm not bidding on it. But 25 grand is a little too steep. By now, you're probably wondering, how much money do we actually have to spend here, Brendan? How much can we actually bid on this car? Well, allow me to pull up my YouTube analytics and show you. So I currently have a whopping 1,404 subscribers. Not terrible, but I've also not published a lot of videos lately, so we haven't made a lot of revenue. The last 28 days, $150. In the last 90 days, $565. In the last year, which is longer than I've been monetized, obviously, $565. I've only been monetized for like 75 days, so I don't have a lot to bid with here. But if we can place a bid for $565, maybe it's no reserve, maybe nobody wants the car. Let's see what we can find. So let's sort by manual. This McLaren 765 LT is not a manual, so get it out of here. And it's not a 4-seater. GT3, not, maybe it's a 4-seater. They have back seats in 991 GT3s. Oh yeah, no. I mean, there are places there where seats were, but there are no longer seats there. No seat belts, no nothing. Maybe you could put them back in. But also my $500 bid isn't going to win a $104,000 GT3. Dang it. So we need a manual. We probably need no reserve, if we're honest. Ooh, Fiesta ST. My buddy had a Fiesta ST. It was a lot of fun. And it's got the Recaros. This is a viable candidate. If we just had, 20 times more money. A little first-gen Porsche Boxster, a non-S, but manual, red interior. The 1990s vibes are here, even though it's a 2000. Look at that. Not a 4-seater, but... dude, that would be a fun car. Convertible action, 126,000 miles. Probably way too much money to maintain, but dude, that would be fun. Little modified ND Miata. I like this. Looks like it's lowered on some wheels. I'm always tempted by a Miata, but I'm 6'5". I can't afford to sit in a Miata all day, and I can't afford a Miata in general. How about this? What's the story on this 996 with the turbo wheels? Only a $10,000 bid right now. I like that. 69,000 miles. Oh, 69,300. So maybe whenever you first pick it up, you could get it to 69,420. I don't smoke, but people like that number. Ooh, that known flaws list is fairly long. A little scratch, a little accident, flaking paint, old tires, curb rash, interior's worn out. Let's be honest, there's probably more issues than that. But those are just the known flaws. There's not an unknown flaws section, unfortunately. Let's be real. We're going to have to go all the way down to the bottom to find newly listed cars and see what we can actually afford. An Evo. Oh man, I feel like an Evo just checks all the boxes for me. Look at this thing. Man, when I was in high school, this was like the dream car. High school and college, the guys that had these, I was like so jealous. Dude, this one looks clean. Not a bunch of modifications. A little bit of questionable paint situation here on the roof, but it's an older car. A little scratch on the front lip. That's going to happen too. Couple dents and dings here and there. A little wear on the spoiler. Bunch of dents and dings, but it's going to happen. Dude, these cars perform well. I've never driven an Evo. I'm ashamed to say, despite all the fun cars I've driven, despite the love of cars that I have, never driven a single Evo, let alone, picking the best 8 or 9 or whatever. Never driven any of them. That little gauge setup right there is so iconic for me. Like, I've looked at so many videos showing those gauges because somebody put on a whatever bigger turbo, an FP Black or something, and just watching all different acceleration runs, watching guys at track days back in the day when I had my little Ford Focus that I modified blow by me in their Evos. Oh man, those seats look like they're in pretty good shape. Oh, and I love that little simple switch there. Tarmac, gravel, snow. Those are the 3 settings I want in my life. Wow, mostly stock Evo, the right generation, under 100,000 miles. Dude, what do you think this car's gonna sell for? 30 grand? Probably. Back seats for the kids right there. They could scream a little bit when dad accelerates too fast. I've got to drive an Evo sometime. Are we missing an HVAC knob right there? Yes, we are. It is completely gone. Well, that can be replaced. Wow, 6 days left. It's already at 13 grand. I feel like an Evo 9 is probably the best Evo. I've just heard that the 10 got a little bit soft, got a little bit pudgy and heavy, and wasn't the best. Okay, enough dreaming. Let's actually find something we can bid on. What can we afford to bid on? Oh, cool. We're at the bottom of the list. We can afford to bid on nothing. An RSX Type S. These were cool too back in the day, man. What is this, 2006? These were cool. What a nice color too. I remember, I think it was Comptech made a supercharger for them, a root style supercharger. So this was basically like a Honda Civic SI. You could put a supercharger on it, and these things would haul. Pretty lightweight. I want to say like 2,700 pounds. Get 260 wheel horsepower out of the thing. They were quick. Looks pretty darn clean. Yeah, those gauges are a throwback too. Look at those white faces. That rev counter that goes all the way to 9. Probably be a fun car, honestly. But apparently, I can't afford to bid on anything. Well, if this video gets 1 million views, then we'll use the next video to buy a car. This is a great plan. Okay, what if we lower our standards and make sure that we're bidding on automatics? Because nobody wants those. They got to be cheap, right? Let's go to the bottom of the list of automatics. What can we find here? An E63S wagon. That's a great dad car. Wow. That I cannot afford, but what a great dad car. A Z4. Is anything cheap enough to bid on? On M4, 5 grand bid. We're getting closer. All I need is 10 times the profits that I've had so far. An Acura RL. You need to remember that car. That must be like the big sedan version. Hard pass on that. Oh, a 2013 S4 supercharged V6. One of my buddies had one of these. That was a fun car. That was a legitimately quick, fun car. It was like 330 horsepower, manual. That was cool. So currently nothing on the site is cheap enough to where we can actually bid on it. Wow, here's our closest one. The closest car to something we can actually afford. And what a color. We got to see what this color is called. A 1990 BMW 750 IL with a V12. So maybe the cheapest car we can actually bid on here could have a V12. Who doesn't want a V12 in their life? 5 liter, rear wheel drive, an auto tragic. Here's the color, bronzit beige metallic. I like it. I'm not sure I could be any more afraid of a drivetrain than a 35-year-old BMW V12, but wow. All we have to do is straight pipe it and it'll sound amazing. It'll sound like a Zonda or an old F1 car, and we will love it. Those square fog lights, those are a vibe. This is such an interesting color. It's like a pinky beige. It's like a pinkish purple tint. I got to see the inside. I want to see the vibe of the 1990s. This has got to be like, dude, if you were some awesome executive in the 90s just making a killing, you just got your sweet bonus check for your whatever Wall Street trading, you went out and bought a V12 5-liter BMW to show off in. Oh, here we go. Look at those tufted leather seats. Look at that rosewood or whatever that kind of reddish wood is. Dude, those seats look comfy. Oh, please tell me that's a phone. Yes, it has a car phone. Look at, you can see the coiled cord right there. Dude, I was hoping this had a car phone. Imagine 1990. You're so successful that you spend a ton of money on this car, but you've got to justify it. And so you can still take business calls in the car. Dude, somebody had a beeper that was sitting right here. It would beep and buzz. The office was calling or the hospital was calling or whatever. You pick up the beeper, you go, I gotta call him back. Dial it into your phone. You're cruising along the freeway somewhere in the Northeast on some road in Connecticut with your squishy leather seats in the back that no one's ever sat in because you're a single bachelor and all you do is work. Gosh, the stories this car could tell. 152,000 miles. What a thing. Look at that setup in the middle. This must have felt like absolute mission control back in the day, to have the phone, to have all your controls down here. It was so high tech. Power seats. Wow, is that rear air? Look at that. Heated seats in the back, rear air, your cigarette lighter. Maybe somebody was driven in this car. Maybe they didn't even drive it. Probably super comfy. Oh, some kind of like modern music head unit for XM radio. We got to get in here and read some of these comments and figure out how scary this thing is. I'm sure it's absolutely terrifying. So all the mods are an AC conversion to take R134A, Sirius XM receiver, Bluetooth microphone, and backup camera. Doesn't have straight pipe yet. The list of maintenance is quite long, which is probably good. Looks like a lot of people asking some fairly involved questions. My M70 doesn't make that ticking noise. Do you have pictures from the paint restoration? Need to look closely at the documents, but it looks like some of them estimate that the repairs were never completed, including a head gasket issue and suspension problems. I mean, anybody who buys this car, regardless of whatever the condition is claimed to be, you know it's got to be a project. Over 30 years old and a BMW V12, it's not going to be cheap. So even though this is the closest car we could come to putting a bid on, I'm not bidding on this thing. No way. Ooh, Cayman has no back seats, but that's a nice color. Adventuring green. It's only the 2-liter turbocharged flat 4 though. Probably the drivetrain to be avoided, if we're honest. A lot of interesting options always on here. I got to try and make myself spend less time because it's just too interesting to get in here and see what you could potentially bid on. I mean, a modified 135i that's got 1 day left is probably going to go for 13, 14 grand. That's a lot of car for the money, man. Granted, it's an automatic, but still, that'd probably be a lot of fun. And it does have rear seats. Find a manual version of this after I've made a lot more ad revenue. Boom. We're in. Well, I got to get back to work to make some more videos, to make some more money so that we can bid on one of these cars and get something. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.